Looking for recruiting news you can use? Welcome to Recruiting Headlines, powered by RecruitingHeadlines.com, a short news segment for recruiters who need to know. Today's episode is sponsored by Rejobify. Improve that part of your candidate experience everyone hates, the rejection email. Learn more at Rejobify.com.
All right, everyone, I'm Chris Russell, and this show will talk about some of the headlines that caught my eye this week and also that I wrote about. We'll talk about a job search app that got $24 million pretty quietly. Facebook is on alert. LinkedIn is getting remote friendly. And Amazon's employees are tweeting good things about working in the warehouse. Those are the top stories that we'll talk about today. So this is Recruiting Headlines. This is the show that recaps some of the important stories that you need to know as recruiters. And so let's get started. So this week on RecruitingHeadlines.com, I wrote about Merlin, which is a job search app. I began noticing ads in my Facebook feed probably last year for these guys. So they were advertising local jobs in my area. Didn't pay much attention to it until this week when I saw a press release that they finally put out. The company's been very quiet to this point. And in that press release, it said they're launching in the New York City market, and they target hourly workers. So a very crowded space. There's players like Monolo and Work Here and Shift Gig already out there. But this company's based in, looks like Bogota, Colombia it came out of. And they have offices in New York City and Salt Lake. And they've raised $24 million last year in a Series A round, which didn't really get much press at the time, if any at all. There was no, a quick Google search, I found no information on the round of funding that they raised. But it's called Merlin. It's a job search app. You can find it in the App Store today. That money, I'm sure, is no doubt powering all those ads I've been seeing. And it reminds me of a strategy that I've seen past companies take as far as in the job search space, who have basically kind of launched their company by essentially buying a lot of traffic and building up their user base that way. A couple companies like Climber.com and Bright.com come to mind. They spent their way to sort of the top of the job board ladder. They tried to anyway, but they never really got that much traction. Bright got bought by LinkedIn at one point. And Climber, they just kind of faded away, I think. So a lot of companies have tried to kind of buy their way into the job search space. According to the company, candidates on Merlin forego a traditional resume over cover letters for a user profile that highlights their experience, personality, and skills. And from there, they get matched to opportunities aligned with their qualifications closest to their home. Jobs are available in a wide range of categories, such as restaurants, hospitality, general labor, etc. So it's an interesting new app out there. We'll see if it gets any traction. It also says the company employs a trust and safety team that reviews each employer to ensure candidates are applying to real companies with viable opportunities. I'm not sure how big of a problem that is, so I'm not sure why that's a feature they wanted to create. There's definitely, scammy jobs out there, but if you're hiring in retail or hospitality, you're generally not advertising scammy jobs. You're trying to find workers, which is hard to do these days. Employers can create a profile. Posting a job takes in less 2 minutes, it says, and you can get candidates immediately without any additional advertising. The app also has a safe chat feature, which allows both parties to discuss the job in real time. So this whole mobile job app space reminds me of the early 2000s when the niche boards were all the rage. Many of them got some traction in a handful of local markets. But going national is always a bigger challenge with these guys. So we'll see what happens with all these different job search apps out there. None of them have really become a national player yet. And so we'll see what happens. According to the release or the article I wrote, the funding comes from VC partners, including General Catalyst, FirstMark, FJ Labs, and Uncork, among others. They plan to expand their offerings to other major U.S. cities in the coming months. And you can also go to merlinjobs.com for more info. And go to recruitingheadlines.com, click on the blog, to see my story. All right, so let's talk about Facebook. They're kind of tweaking the job search options on Facebook, and so they're pushing subscribe and job alert options, which is something new I noticed in the last few weeks. At some point, they put a subscribe button in the right sidebar if you go to facebook.com/jobs, so you can subscribe to those job listings in your area. I'm assuming that notifications will happen in your, in your little app there on the bell, it's a golden bell now. But they've also done some other tweaks to the platform as far as alerts go. So if you like a company, and I wrote about this on the Recruiting Headlines blog, if you like a company, you actually get alerted now when they post a job listing into the Facebook job board. And so it shows up in your little feed notifications. I happened to like a company recently and saw in my notifications they posted a job. It doesn't tell you what job it is, just that they posted it. And it clicks over to, once you click it, goes right to the job listing. So that's an interesting new tweak. So it's another reason to use Facebook jobs, obviously. Once I clicked on it, I got another prompt to subscribe to jobs in my area. Again, they're really pushing the subscribe options now across the Facebook job platform. So that's pretty good news. And as I mentioned, I think in a past show, they're going to be working on candidate matching and possibly API access for ATS vendors. So we'll have to wait and see if that happens. So interesting stuff from the Facebook job board. Also on the Recruiting Headlines blog, LinkedIn is getting more remote friendly. So searching for remote-based listings on the major job boards these days is not exactly easy. There's no general way to kind of find them. Typically, you have to enter the word remote in the keyword box, right? But LinkedIn has finally found a way to fix that, which I think is the best way to tackle this issue. When I was running my job boards back in the 2000s, I always ran into recruiters who wanted to post sort of a virtual job, and they couldn't really do it because the platforms that I was using and many others use just didn't support job listings with no locations. And so what LinkedIn did is they allow job seekers to enter a keyword, and then in the location box on the LinkedIn job board, you can type remote, and up will pop all listings who are completely virtual. And so as a job poster, you can also use that when you're posting your jobs. You can type in just remote as the location, the word remote, and it'll appear as a remote listing on the platform. That's the best way to tackle this. So if you're a software vendor and ATS out there, you really need to get better at supporting virtual job listings, remote job listings overall, because these jobs are only growing in nature, and the best way to handle that is to essentially create a city called remote, or a location called remote in your database, so that people can search on those easily from a location box. So check out the story on Recruiting Headlines. It's going live at 10 a.m. today, this Friday, and look for that as well. And lastly, just saw the story, actually was on CBS this morning as I was preparing this podcast. Amazon is paying people in their to tweet nice things about working in their warehouse. This is a story that's on Business Insider. The title of the story is Amazon is paying people to tweet nice things about warehouse working conditions after horror stories of staff peeing in bottles. It says a small army of employees are tweeting nice things about the conditions. The Twitter accounts all have a standardized format, all bearing the Amazon Smile logo as their background. According to the story, Amazon says these employers are called FC ambassadors who have experience working in fulfillment centers. And this follows a series of horror stories about working conditions that have come out recently. TechCrunch, I guess, discovered 15 different accounts from some of these guys. And they're tweeting things like, let's see here. Hello, Amazon does pay their employees minimum wage. Any less would be illegal, smiley face. One thing that often goes overlooked are the employee benefits that Amazon provides for employees: health insurance, 401k, career and financial counseling. There's another one. Did you know that Amazon pays warehouse workers 30% more than other retailers? I feel proud to work for Amazon. They've taken good care of me. So it's interesting, little employer branding controversy here going on. Obviously, it's in companies' best interest to get their employees to, write about them on sites like Glassdoor and Indeed Reviews. And this is definitely taking that to a new level. Looks like Amazon got caught with their hands in the cookie jar here. And it just kind of goes to show, there's ways of doing this that, don't look forced. Creating all these different accounts like this is on Twitter is interesting. I wonder if they've done this on like Glassdoor too, which could be worth a look. So, talking about your company is great. Just make it come from, real people. Try and make it as genuine as possible, and don't be so obvious about it, I guess, is the lesson here. So go to Business Insider or TechCrunch to see these tweets. It's kind of an interesting employer branding issue, which many companies face, but there's definitely better ways to do this, I think. All right, well, that's going to be it for the show. A couple show notes. I'm going to be at RecTech in Vegas in a few weeks, September 11th through the 14th. Hope to do a lot of interviews on the show floor with vendors and recruiters and industry influencers. So I'll be there all week and look for new shows from the show floor on RecTech podcast coming out after that. If you are going to be at the show, definitely hit me up if you want to be on the show. Chris at RecTechMedia.com. Let's schedule a time to get you interviewed, whether you're a vendor or a recruiter. We'd definitely love to chat for a few minutes and get you on the podcast. And upcoming webinars, kind of getting back into the swing of things after my vacation from last week. September 20th, we'll be talking with Ray Gibson from Start Monday, which is a hospitality and retail applicant tracking system specifically designed for those industries. And we'll be going over some tips and tricks for recruiting hospitality retail talent. And so go to RecTechLive.com to sign up for that show if you are recruiting in those fields. Again, September 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, that'll do for this headline show. Happy Friday and have a good weekend. And I'll be back next week with a new episode of the RecTech podcast. We'll be talking with a couple of vendors. I got an interview with Intello coming out, and also an interview with a guy from Careers in Government, which is a niche job board, Michael Hurwitz. So look for those shows in the coming weeks, and I'll see you soon.
That's it for now. Be sure to sign up for our daily newsletter that delivers all the day's top stories every afternoon direct to your inbox. Subscribe at recruitingheadlines.com.